In this GYDA Talks, Robert interviews Adam Harris of Freshmindset. Adam specialises in providing leaders with the insights and tools they need to develop expertise in making the right introductions and leveraging this knowledge for strategic sales success. In other words, he'll help you determine who and what you need to know and who and what they need to know to produce measurable and sustainable business results. In this talks, Robert and Adam discuss purpose, does it matter? What to do, be reactive or proactive with clients. Businesses don't know where they're heading. Becoming a trusted advisor and partner, and where you want to sit in the market, plus much more.
Hello and welcome to the GYDA Talks, and today it really is my huge wonderful pleasure to welcome everyone to the legend in his own lifetime that is Adam Harris. Hello, Adam.
Hey, that's an intro and a half.
Well, the thing is about you, Adam, is we do know each other rather well, so I know what you've done for agencies. I know what you've done for businesses. I know what you've done for me in terms of searing advice, which actually isn't actually advice, which is actually questions. So one of the things about Adam, I'm talking about you as if you're not there, is you ask these searing questions, which kind of hit you right between the middle of the eyes, and then you go, let me just deflect you, Adam, from answering that question for a moment by somehow answering another question, because you've just asked a question to my core. But let's get back to the interview. So, Adam, for those who don't know you, what are you known for?
I'm known for laser beam questions, to work with predominantly CEOs and boards of directors. I spend a lot of my time listening, observing, and I kind of work on the premise a lot of the times that the less I say, the better. But actually, when I do speak, to make sure that it's completely and absolutely relevant and laser beam focused.
Can you give us an example of that?
So sat around a board table, provocative, challenging questions, a lot of conversation going on. Should we do this? Should we do this? And actually stealing one of your questions. So where actually are we heading? Start with the end in mind. What's the end game here? And literally, I think for me, I'm percolating the information in my head. I'm listening, I'm absorbing what's being said, probably more importantly, what's not being said. And then it's almost kind of like this vacuum of space just kind of implodes. And I say it and everything kind of just goes silent. And people are then sitting there kind of going, oh, that's actually a really good point. What are we actually trying to achieve here? So those things seem to happen to me on a daily basis from a one-to-one coaching perspective, a monthly when I'm sat physically or virtually within boardrooms, is to just be challenging and asking that really difficult question that nobody either A wants to answer or B's even thought of, and that's where I spend my time.
But I'm going to just big you up a bit, because I think there's actually more to it than that, because it's not just about identifying the elephant in the room or bringing the elephant onto the table. I think there's two other things going on, and I've watched you numerous occasions when we've worked together, and I think one of them is about kind of persevering. In other words, not accepting the initial answer. So, one of your quotes, which I use, if we're going to do this swapping thing, is, what's the issue behind the issue? Which anyone who pays me good money knows that at some point in every session I will talk about what is the issue behind the issue, because that's actually digging into what's going on. And the other thing, which you kind of alluded to, is actually going beyond what is normal consulting, and whether that's asking very, very direct questions, for instance, about someone's personal life or their personal relationships, if it's appropriate. But I think it's the actual creating the question, thinking about whether the question will create the response, and then letting it out, as opposed to bullying for it. So it's this kind of radical counter stuff, isn't it? About caring, and as well as challenging at the same time.
Yeah, and I think the phrase that I'm coining at the moment is being frank and fearless. It's something that I've been doing for as long as I can remember, and actually part of my role when I'm working with people is to get them to feel comfortable in being open, honest, transparent, to say what they really feel and what they really mean. And I think there's actually an opportunity here, I think, for digital agencies, because actually if you look at the landscape and how people go about asking questions, it's quite pragmatic, it's quite boring, it's quite consistent. And actually, if you as a digital agency, if you can go into a customer or a client or a prospect and build empathy, build rapport, and ask some really shit hot questions to really provoke and get people to step back and really think, actually, what are we doing here? What is this conversation all about? What is the engagement that we're looking at? Instead of going for the transactional sale, which I think so many people do, within, not in, just generally within the consulting space, but specifically within digital agencies. I've seen it. I've been there. I've been on both sides, sat in the boardroom, sat there as a potential customer, and I've literally sat there and just gone, if this is the best you can possibly do, what's the fucking point? I might as well pay somebody in the Philippines, a tenth of the price to do it, because you're adding no value, and this is where, and I think it's vitally important, understand what your vertical market is, but actually it's the quality of the questions, the challenge that you have with the people that you work with, which for me is the fundamental thing.
I mean,
and 95% of businesses absolutely just miss it.
Yeah, so just staying with that, so the problem that digital agencies have is that they're really good at the clatter. You want to sell more coffee cups, we'll get you links, we'll get you leads, we'll get you hits, we'll get you ROI. But when it comes to selling their own service, because it's not a product, it's a service, it's like a professional service firm, like an accountant or a lawyer or an architect, where you're selling your reputation, you're selling the promise. They're many are really poor at understanding that they're creating a relationship. It's a relationship sale. It's not a transaction sale. And they think it's literally, let's look at the hopper. We've got 50 leads. We've got 25 sales qualified, 10 marketing qualified, 5 proposals. What can we do to take it to the next level? And that's not how any of us want to be treated. And we can smell it when the automated email pops out saying, "It is 3 days since we heard." I just got one now. "It is 3 days since we heard from you. We were just wondering if you are still interested in our service." Sod off. Today, the thing that differentiates us more than anything else is far more around how we do stuff. Who we are and how we do stuff. Because every bloody website is, we care about our staff, we have a great purpose, we have wonderful,
It's just bullshit. And so interestingly, since I've been in New Zealand, I've come across a couple of people who are quite focused on B corporations. So some people might well have heard of the concept of, it was originally triple bottom line, then there was quadruple bottom line, people, purpose, profit, planet. And now there's actually kind of a certification and a process to go through called B Corp. I think that there's only something like 7,000 companies worldwide, but actually it's, if you kind of imagine ISO from a standards perspective in kind of, quality management, B Corp is definitely worthwhile looking at, because it really takes the emphasis on the whole big picture. And especially if you're an organization that want to build for longevity, you want to put significant value throughout the organization to all the stakeholders. It's definitely something that's worthwhile looking at. Because, you know, and it's interesting because I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday and saying, actually, what is the purpose of running a business? You know, and I think a lot of the times, and I was reflecting on this, thinking about the clients that I've worked with, we don't actually spend enough time, you know, and we talk about having the purpose, but what's actually the benefit for the stakeholders? You know, what's the value add? Yes, it's, you know, for some people it's about making the money, but who are the people that we want to impact, and the lives and the families and the relationships and the wider stakeholders? You know, and again, even from a digital agency perspective, I think when you're able to have that relationship and that rapport, and you're bought in because you believe in the customer's product or service, everything just seems to become a lot easier. You know, it's not work. Actually, it's just about, you know, and I know that you're very similar to me, Robert. Most of the clients that I work with, I like hanging out with them. It's a joy. They bring me in because there's a specific skill that I've got, but actually it's not work. It's relationship. And I think there's a lot that people can learn about that.